Welcome to the Ultimate Coach Podcast, Conversations from Being, inspired by the book, The Ultimate Coach, written by Amy Hardison and Alan Thompson. Join us each week with the intention of expanding your state of being, and your experience will be remarkable. Remember, this is a podcast about being. It is a podcast about you. To explore more deeply, visit theultimatecoachbook.com. Now, enjoy today's conversation from being.
So welcome back to the Ultimate Coach Podcast. My name is Philip Batu, and today I have an extraordinary guest, someone who I have known for a little over, I think, 2 or 3 weeks, maybe even a month. And every so often I'll meet someone in my life who I just feel lives in a space of absolute just beauty and honesty. And one of the things on his website is the word extraordinary. He coaches extraordinary leaders. And I just think that is such a perfect word to describe our guest today. His name is Stefan Sainato. And he is, in my eyes, truly extraordinary in the way he does everything. His commitment to being extraordinary as a coach and as a human being, and in just everything he does in life has been such an inspiration and an eye-opener for me as to who I can be in the world. And so I'm super excited and inspired to have this conversation with Stefan today for the extraordinary being that he is. Stefan, welcome.
Oh, gosh. Thank you for that. What a gift. What a blessing to receive such heartfelt words of gratitude and acknowledgement. I'm already moved. I already have tears in my eyes. It's just a warning for anyone listening. It may get mushy.
Oh, that's amazing. Wow.
Thank you, Philip.
Well, also thank you. This is actually the second time we are recording a conversation, and we just felt like we wanted to explore more deeply and just from a place of being. So our intention today is to not just talk about being, but to explore what it really means for the both of us, and particularly in the area of creation and creating. And Stefan is someone who was featured in the Ultimate Coach book, and he's someone who went through a phase in his life where he really hit rock bottom. And I'd like you to share a little bit more about that, Stefan, about the time in your life where you were an alcoholic and going through addiction, and how you discovered, or how you had the gift of being coached by Steve Hardison, and what that's done for you. Just as a way to introduce yourself, would you like to share a little bit about that story and to bring a bit of context of who you are?
Yeah, sure. I would love to. My dear brother, Stephen is the correct pronunciation for my first name, and sharing about this may take me 15 to 20 minutes. Is that okay? I can offer an abridged version if that would better serve.
Stephen, I would like for you to just share whatever your heart wants to share right now.
Okay, I love that. Let's follow the way of the heart. So, I think we live in a culture that likes to party a little bit. And where I grew up, that was normal and fun for a while, until it became the solution to my emotional pain. And there was a real turning point for me in my life when I was a teenager, and I experienced the heartache of a breakup. And words were exchanged, judgments were believed, and I felt deep anxiety and shame and grief and sadness. And it was a level of emotional injury I had never experienced. So rather than talk about it, ask for support, ask for help, I chose to numb it. I went right into my parents' liquor cabinet, poured a huge cup of vodka, sprinkled in a little bit of orange juice, and chugged it as fast as I possibly could. And I numbed my pain. And at that time, it seemed to me to work. I felt better. And I went right back to being and doing what I wanted and could hang out with my friends and have fun and pretend basically like it never had happened. And that was the moment when a very dangerous habit became a solution for pain. As I grew a little older, I discovered smoking marijuana, and that helped me to stop thinking the thoughts that produced the pain. So now I had a strong and dangerous solution to emotional pain that was ever evolving. Eventually, it led me to harder drugs. And I don't know if you've seen the documentary recently on Hulu, I think, called Dope Sick.
I haven't seen it, no.
It's about pharmaceutical companies and how they created and promoted a drug called Oxycontin and how it led to an epidemic and many deaths around the world. And I was almost one of them. That's what really got me too. And gosh, I don't know if I've shared this much detail publicly before, feeling a little vulnerable. In any event, you can imagine what that led to. I ended up creating a hell. And I was in a really dark place. I just kept numbing and never really growing through anything, never opening up, just keeping everything bottled inside. I was a master of secret suffering and pretending that I was okay, smiling on the inside and crying, or smiling on the outside and crying on the inside. And I really didn't want to wake up some mornings. I remember I have this specific memory of holding an 80 milligram Oxycontin in my hand. And at this point, it was late at night. And at this point in the day, I'd already ingested so much. I was already whacked out of my mind. And I thought to myself, if I take this whole thing, there's a chance this could go really bad. And then the next second, I was taking it down. And thankfully, I woke up. I remember my mom around that time saying something like, I'm really worried about you. And I remember her thinking, I'm really worried about me too. I just didn't know a way out. Two spiritual experiences led to the best path I could have ever asked for. One, I was at my drug dealer's home and we're waiting for a big shipment to come in, and I'm with a bunch of other people hooked on the same stuff. And if you know anything about opiates, once you start and keep going, you can't stop without getting really sick, really, really sick. The withdrawal is grueling and hellish. There was a chance the shipment may not come in. So we're all freaking out. And I had this moment that I share often where I swear it was like God lifted me up out of my body and showed me who I was being. He showed me who I was being. And I was stunned. And I had these thoughts like, holy shit, this isn't you. This isn't you. You got to get the hell out of here. So I said, give me my money back. I'm out. I'm done. Don't fucking call me. I'm sorry for cursing. So I went home, endured hell of withdrawal, and I was able to stop those pills, but I still didn't recognize that I had a problem. So I kept chasing that feeling, and I kept numbing with alcohol and weed and whatever else. And that led to another rock bottom, which was about 7 or so months after then. It was December 11, 2012. I was bartending at that time. I was working a double shift, and Sunday nights in Morristown, New Jersey, where I'm from and where I was working, there was what was called Latin Night at the Dark Horse, a popular place at that time. And the guys in the kitchen wanted to go and asked me if I wanted to go with them. And I said, yeah, let's do it. And you know what? I'll drive. I got a new car, and I'm not gonna drink tonight. That's what I really believed. I drank, of course, quickly and rapidly, and blacked out. The last thing I remember is ordering a Rumpelmans and a Corona, and lights out for me. And on my way home, I don't remember much of this. I have a few blurred visions, but I remember turning the radio on full blast, punching the gas, and flying, and attempted to make a turn. No way in hell I could make it. Smashed over the curb, slammed on the brakes, and skidded, and boom, blasted my car straight into a huge tree, completely annihilating my vehicle, completely annihilating it. Done. And I was still sort of out of it, and I'm like trying to move the car, and it's absolutely crushed. And this is about 1, 2 in the morning, and hell cops came, arrested, the whole thing. I woke up the next morning and just so much emotional pain again. Shame. I was so ashamed. I was so confused. I was 27 at this time, and I just could get it. At one point in life, I was so alive, so lit up. I loved to live. I was a tap dancer. I loved to dance. I loved to dream and imagine. And now here I am in this darkness, and so confused, so disoriented, not sure what the heck to do. And that's when God really came into my life on a deeper level. And he spoke to me through my brother, who sat down with me right around that time and said, Steve, man, this is what's in the page 362 of the Ultimate Coach book. He said something like, Steve, man, you got to stop. Like, done. No more getting high. No more drinking. You got to make this the best damn thing that's ever happened to you in your life. That moment right there, I felt the possibility that inspired me. And I was like, all right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to get sober. And I'm going to make this the best thing that's ever happened to me. And I called a friend, and I tagged along with him to a 12-step meeting. And when I got there, I felt home. I heard things that I thought only I thought. And I was loved by people who never knew me. They would care and call, and it was amazing. It was amazing. In hindsight, I know, because the 12th step is all about service. It's about service, and it's more than just about like doing good and feeling good and being love and being service. For us, it's about living. Like, we had to give literally to live. That's what it came down to. And I'm so grateful for that now, because I know the embodiment of unconditional service with no hook, just pure giving. And I got to receive that freely so many wonderful people who are still so much a part of my life. My sponsor, my friends, my spiritual advisors, mentors. And most importantly, I got to begin really developing a relationship with the God of my understanding. I began to pray, and I began to ask for help, to open up, to share what was really going on. There's a book called Flourish by Martin Seligman, who pioneered positive psychology. And in the book, he finds that if we have at least one person with whom we can be honest, really, really honest, vulnerable, open up, share what's going on in our lives, we live a longer, healthier, and happier life. We literally add years to our lives by having a safe container. That's why I love coaching so much, is we get to create that. And I got to experience that back then, and I got to heal. I got to grow. I got to learn, to love, to forgive. And it was the beginning of a truly wonderful path that would ultimately lead me to coaching. Shortly after I began working the steps, one of my previous college dreams had come back into my mind, which was to go to law school and become a lawyer. And I was excited by that possibility, terrified as well. It's a lot of reading. And I decided to study for the law school admission test, take it. I did okay. I applied to a couple schools. I got into a couple. The one school I wanted to go to, which was close to home with great tuition, was Rutgers. And they put me on their wait list and rejected me. So I said, okay, so I'm not going to law school this year. I kept doing what I was doing at that time, which was a personal trainer, and I was still bartending, even in sobriety. My sponsor, Fred, told me that I'm in no more danger there than anywhere. So long as I'm spiritually fit, I'm safe. So I stayed spiritually fit, and I kept doing what I was doing. And the following year, I was encouraged to apply again. I followed that whisper, applied again, and within 2 weeks, I got in. And now I'm like, I'm feeling proud of myself. I'm feeling good. And I'm also really scared because reading and writing were not my strengths. This was a huge commitment. And I wasn't sure whether it was for me. So I prayed about it, and 2 interactions really solidified my choice. One was with my friend / mentor / second sponsor / brother named Kenny. And he said, do you think God had anything to do with it? I said, well, I've been praying for it. He said, well, there you go. And I thought, wow, that really edged me toward yes. And then I had another interaction with this guy, Larry, where I was a personal trainer, and we were having just a conversation, just having fun at the gym. And he said, out of nowhere, he didn't know what I was going through or the decision I was facing. He said, you know, Steve, every time I had an opportunity to educate myself or enlighten my mind, I took it. And I was like, oh my God, Larry, you have no idea. God just spoke right through you, I swear. And I went home that day and I put my seat deposit in, and I was in. I was going. And along that time between accepting and actually starting, I had met Judge Wright, who I also mentioned in The Ultimate Coach. We connected while I was bartending. He invited me to his chambers to talk about the law and connect. So I took him up on it, and we really connected. And he was sharing with me about service and giving back. And given how important that was for me, I again said, I don't know if you're a believer, but I swear God's talking right through you. And he jumped up and said, I am. And I read scripture before I sit in the bench every day. And then he invited me to his church, where he shared his story of overcoming incredible odds to become the Honorable Michael J. Wright. And that lit a fire under me. I went home that day and I wrote "never give up" on a piece of paper. And I scotch taped it to my wall, and I would look at that every single day. And I was in, I was ready, I was committed. Yet I still had this mindset of, I just gotta, I can do this, and I just gotta make it through. I just gotta survive this. And then I started listening to inspirational videos. And there's one by Les Brown that I shared about recently in our Facebook group called I'm the One. I'm the One. And that video put the possibility in my mind that I could be number one. I could be number one. To even think that thought was a breakthrough in being and seeing, the seeing of myself, that is. And that's when I really stepped up and I made an internal commitment like I had never made before in my life. And I showed up every day with that level of commitment. And when people were taking days off and it was holidays and it was birthdays and it was weekends, when people were partying, I knew I was going to turn it up and go even harder and study even harder. And I graduated number one in the class. And I remember just crying with gratitude and thanking God in my car in the parking garage after the graduation ceremony. And I went on to accept an awesome job with an awesome firm in New York City and got to do some really great work. Ultimately, I discovered, however, that it wasn't for me long term. So I went in and I started to look around and see what really spoke to me. Started to talk to God and started to really perform some deep introspection and soul searching. And I discovered something called coaching. And once I really got a taste of what coaching was, I fell completely in love with it. I thought, wow, I could use everything I've been through. I could use everything I've developed, all my skills, all my talents, all my gifts, everything I've got to make a meaningful difference in someone's life. That's it. That's home for me. I'm going after that. So I decided to make a move and I left the firm, and it was unexpected. I had this plan. I was going to wait a certain amount of time, save up a certain amount of money, and then I was going to go. But I swear, I went in one day. I was so unhappy. I was in a real funk, and I just got lifted up. I swear, spirit moved me, and I walked right down to the I forget her position, but I went to the person's office who I had to inform that I was going to send in my 2 weeks. And it was a shock. And it was like, what? Why? Huh? But you're doing so well and everyone loves you and the partners are fighting for you and the different groups want you to be in their group and you're making so much money and all this. And I said, thank you. Thank you. I know. And my priorities in life are just shifting right now. And fulfillment is number one for me. Fulfillment. I'm here to serve a purpose, and I'll be damned if I don't. So I went for it. And during that transition, oh man, that was a heck of a journey. And that is where I came to know Steve Hardison, who I love and appreciate so much for the difference and the influence he has had in my life. It's scary. It was scary. I was living in Manhattan. I had a lot of bills to pay and went from making a handsome income to none. And I was often operating from a place of fear and doubt. And sometimes I would cry with fear. I just didn't know what to do, how to do it, if I could do it. And I remember hearing about Steve Hardison at a Rich Litvin intensive in 2018. And my friend Mike Harris sends me the audio, TBO, LIT, NFL. And I hear it. I'm walking down Lexington Avenue in Manhattan on my way to the mustard seat, it's called. It's a meeting, 12-step meeting in New York City. How apropos. And it just hit me. Just like the judge's words hit me, just like Les Brown's words hit me. It just struck a chord deep within the depth of my soul. And I was committed. And I was going to make it. And I was going to create my dreams. And that was the only option. That was it. And I declared shortly after then, after seeing Steve's declaration, after receiving a book from him by Nadine, the wonderful Nadine Larder, where I got to see his clients' declarations infused onto the masterpiece wall in his backyard. I just felt spirit writing through me, and I declared I have a full coaching practice with a waiting list. And within a few months, I really did. I could and I couldn't believe it simultaneously. The power of commitment and the power of who we declare ourselves to be. And eventually I got to spend time with Steve in his sacred coaching office in Arizona. And whoo, was that something? Was that something? I got to be with a possibility for love, for freedom, for service, for power, for kindness, for confidence, for humility, in a way I had never experienced. And by being with him and by being with his sharing of him and his life and how he serves and how he loves and how he gives, I got to experience the possibility for my own life. And that grew me profoundly. And how I show up now for myself, for my wife, for my clients, for strangers. I went to the post office a couple days ago and I had the most pleasant interaction. The woman was so nice. And at the end of our interaction, she says, be well and stay safe. And she said it with such a warmth and a sincerity that I felt moved by it. And you know how they give you like the 3-foot-long receipts and they circle something and they say, here's a survey. And most of the time, people don't fill that out. I couldn't wait to fill it out. I couldn't wait to go home and go online and share about my interaction, because that is the beauty of humanity that we need so badly in the world right now. And that's being love. That's being love. And you mentioned extraordinary leadership. Yeah, we are all that. There's an awesome book called The Leader Who Had No Title. And it drives home the message that we are all leaders. We're all important. What we say matters. Who we be matters. What we do matters. We all make a difference. Even if we're at home loving ourselves and offering a prayer, that makes a difference.
Well, thank you for that incredible introduction of who you are, Stephen. I'm so moved by your story. I acknowledge you for the vulnerability and how you share it. I feel the heart, the passion, the resilience, and gosh, everything you've been through. But there's one thing I hear that recurs over and over and over again throughout your story, from the very beginning till today. The one thing I kept hearing was the word commitment. Like from the moment when you said you were listening to your brother who said, you got to stop. You said, I made a commitment to change my life. And then also when you heard Les Brown, you made a commitment to never give up. You made a commitment. You saw the possibility of being number one. You made a commitment. Law school, you made a commitment. And this constant commitment that you make, it feels a commitment that is very internal and powerful. And for a long time, I didn't like the word commitment because I had it felt very, it just felt like it would constrain me. Mm-hmm. And for someone who loves freedom, I kind of shied away from the word commitment. And what I'm hearing from you and from reading the book is an embodied form of commitment from the level of your soul, when you make that commitment to show up and be who you really want to be and create what you really want to create in the world. So I would love to hear, like, what does commitment really mean to you, Stephen?
Such a great question. I appreciate your loving listening a lot. Thank you, Philip. What does commitment mean to me? I'm not immediately sure how to articulate what commitment means for me. I think I've expressed what it means for me in the sharing of how it's lived me. And as another possibility, it's being moved deeply and inspired by a possibility that speaks to our soul and binding ourselves to that possibility.
Did you say binding?
Binding.
I love that word. Yeah. Yeah. It's such a legal word. It's such a legal word as well.
There's still a little legal eagle in me.
Yeah.
Maybe a lot. Yes, it's interesting too, because it's like binding to a possibility and giving myself permission to detach from the outcome and operate in a way that's beyond.
In the context of your story, you mentioned how you started working with Steve Hardison and you made this commitment to yourself that you're going to have a waiting list of clients. So you saw that as a possibility for you. And then you created from that possibility. Is that what I'm hearing? You created from that possibility every day.
Yeah.
How did that happen from the moment you committed to having a waiting list of clients to that actually happening? And what you said, how many months? Like just how many months did that happen?
Just a few months, yeah.
Can you share a little bit that story of how you created that, what you learned from it, and what was the role, like, or just whatever you want to share about that? I'd love to hear about that.
Sure. So when I wrote it down, I typed it out and I made it the background of my laptop so I could see it every day. And the commitment lived me. It lived me, and it was with me every day. And I was showing up in a new way, and I was doing what I knew worked well for me. And what worked well for me at that time was waking up and honoring my time with God, exercising, going to a 12-step meeting and get myself spiritually fit. That was the number one ingredient for me, just staying as spiritually fit and as one with God as I could possibly be. And from that place, I shared with people who I was and what I was up to. I opened up vulnerably in a way I hadn't before publicly and on social media. I started to share my story. At that time, I had around 6 years of sobriety, and I still felt some shame about it. And I started to open up more about it and started to share. And people could resonate, because it turns out that we're all so similar in so many ways. And that I also learned that when we're willing to be open and vulnerable and share from our hearts, that creates such a deep connection and trust. And one of the things I love to do with anyone who expresses an interest to work with me is I love to spend a couple hours together, just sharing. That's it, just sharing. And we're not even talking about working together or investment or anything. We're just sharing. We're just sharing who I am, my life, their life, listening deeply, being present with each other, and establishing that foundation of trust and love and integrity. And I have found that creates a foundation for miraculous results. And it's so fun and it's so fulfilling. Does that help answer the question?
Yeah. And you know what? There's also something else that I'm hearing in connection to this and in your story. Here's how it looks like to me. Now, I'd love to hear if this is true for you. It sounds like, as you told your story, like the moment you committed, something shifted in your being, and you were you were able to be open to hearing what you call the voice of God speak through you, speak through other people. It was almost like from that commitment, something in your being shifted for you to be open to hear things that you were not hearing before.
Yeah, it did. it opened up a channel of communication with the God of my understanding, for sure. And it empowered my courage. I was afraid of people's opinions, people pleasing. That was a big part of my being for so long, and still is sometimes. And I was scared to share my innermost thoughts and my views and my beliefs. I was scared. I would think about what people who I went to freaking elementary school, what are they going to think of me? I mean, just wild fears that would stop me from sharing. And once I had more courage than fear, I could express myself.
Amazing. And it's like commitment leads to courage. That leads to creation.
Yes. And the fulfillment of the deepest desires we hold in our hearts.
Yeah, that's so powerful. And I can really relate to what it's like to commit to something and declare it publicly. And it comes with a shame of, what if I fail? And what if I don't make it? But I've told people about it. And for me, that has often held me back in making commitments, because of the fear that I would have if I don't make it. And I got to see that when I commit internally, I commit to who do I need to be to create whatever it is I want to create. And and when you talk about this attachment to outcome, like when we can let go of the outcome, we get to shift our being and raise to the occasion of who do we need to be to create. In your case, a waiting list of clients that want to work for you. There was like a shift in your being for you to create that.
Yes. Deep shift, deep and profound shift.
And you were willing to do things that were uncomfortable. You were willing to be judged by others. You were willing to be misunderstood in some of the things that you say in service of your commitment.
Yes. Yes. And doing the internal work to lose my concern for other people's opinions of me,
right,
was remarkably liberating.
Yeah.
And when that happens, things unlock.
Yeah.
Things
it's like
unlock.
you are free.
Exactly. We are free to be and express who we really are, what we really love, what we're really committed to, and we can serve how we're meant to serve.
So powerful. I can feel just the power in your voice. I can feel the power in your being, and just feel your commitment. And also, another thing that really struck me about you, Stephen, is like your level of intention in everything you write. You know, one of the things I started noticing about you is just how you were so intentional with every word. With it's you know, for people who've seen you on social media and the way that you respond to comments, even the way that you respond to this question that I just asked you earlier on around what does commitment mean to you, the way you take the time, the place you go to find an answer, and how you're just that level of intention, and how you're always committed to speaking from whatever is the deepest truth in the moment, and not just whatever occurs to you in your mind. And I want to acknowledge you for just modeling that for me and for all of us today in the way that you showed up. The possibility of slowing down, of really honoring your commitment to speaking your deepest truth.
I feel so seen.
I feel that's so beautiful, and I'm just so appreciative of you for how you're showing up in our conversation today.
Wow. Philip, thank you so much for acknowledging me and creating me the way you do. It means the absolute world to me. I have put in a lot of heart work to create who I am, and I have spent so much time and energy and effort in my communication and creation and being love. So to be seen and heard and recognized and acknowledged means so much to me. You have just given me one of the greatest gifts I could possibly receive. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Well, thank you so much. I'm kind of lost for words right now, so I'm just going to just be with the beauty of this moment with you. There's something else that's kind of bubbling up for me. In a conversation we recently had, you spoke about integrity, and you gave the story of someone who showed up 2 minutes late for a call, and how you handle that, and that really struck me, and I thought about that for a long time, and I would love to hear that from you again. Do you remember what you shared about integrity and what that means to you?
I believe so, yeah. Integrity is one of the most empowering distinctions in ways of being. For me, it is doing what we say as intended and on time. It is living in alignment with our truth, the essence of our being, and beyond. So the story, one of the stories, and this has happened multiple times, someone reached out right before our session time started. I do my sessions by phone. I love that. Like you saw before we started recording, I create my space. I dim the lights. I got candles. I got the sage going. I really create a sacred space. And I get a message saying, hey, can we start 10 minutes late? I'm running late. Can we start 10 minutes late? And the people pleaser in me wanted to be like, sure. And then the commitment came online. My commitment to him. And I said something to the effect of, no, that won't be possible. If I say yes, then I'll be perpetuating a way of being that's not serving you. And that is not who I'm committed to being for you. And I would never do that to you.
And I remember you telling me, like, what was that? What was the response to that?
Well, with the example I'm thinking of in my mind right now, yeah. I'm not sure if it's the same one we spoke of last time, but with the example I'm thinking of in my mind, they heard it. They heard me. Yeah. They heard my love. They heard my service. They felt it. And they appreciated that I was holding them to a standard of impeccable integrity. And that was one of the most life-changing moments for this one person. They've told me that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And what's great too is it's an opportunity to be a stand for someone, to truly be a stand for someone's integrity. Mm-hmm. For me, has been one of the most challenging things, because I never know how it's going to land. Sometimes it doesn't go so well. Sometimes it can trigger the listener, and the conversation is a little different.
I'm wondering, because this is also has been something that I have been showing up this way a lot more, and also with friends. So, for example, sometimes I have a friend who says he'll call me on a certain day, and then he doesn't, and I don't hear from him. Well, actually, this is just something that happened recently, and I remember just writing to him and saying, "Hey, who are you being? by saying you're gonna, who are you being by saying you're going to call me and then not call me?
Mm.
And it was edgy for me to just say that to a friend, because usually I would say something like, hey, what happened? You didn't call. Is everything okay? I would package in a way that was like, oh, I'm just checking in with you and I'm curious. But this, in a way, this was more edgy because I felt like I was calling him out, right? Like, who are you being? Saying like, who are you being, and being out of integrity, right? And it was edgy for me to do that.
Yeah,
But
way to go.
it created such a possibility for a deeper connection.
Mm.
And
Mm.
and it's a risk because it can also backfire, and I can, I can see that, going both ways. And it really depends on sort of what is the state of mind, or what is the state of being of the person receiving that message. So I haven't figured out what's the best way to do this, but I'm curious for you, like if there's been some, like outside of coaching, like what is it like for you? Do you take a stand for that level of integrity with your friends and family?
It depends. If I think it will be in service, then like if it might, I'll just, without overcomplicating it, I'll just say yeah, I do. And one example, I have this one friend, and we would catch up every so often and connect, and he tried a last minute dodge on me, and and I'm like, nope. Like, something's running late, like, and not totally, like, not emergency or anything, just late, and can we do another time, like at the very last minute? And I said, no, that won't work for me. It's either integrity or nothing. And he heard it, respected it. We got on, we had a good call, connected and caught up, and I haven't really heard from him much since, and he hasn't responded to many of my messages since. So whether that's the cause, I'm not sure. That's what happened in that situation. And so there that is. And I would really love to share something else if it's okay. It's related. It's related. It's not exactly on point with.
Yeah, go ahead.
People outside of coaching. So this has to do with people inside the context of coaching. What I love about that opportunity is it gives me the space to share about restoring integrity and how we can do that in a really powerful, beautiful way. And so we acknowledge what happened, we acknowledge the impact, and then we make a new commitment. So for example, if I was late with you, and this goes for me to even implicit agreements. Like if I tell you I'll call you back soon, that to me, I think about what you would expect.
Yeah.
And that's the agreement that's there for me.
Yeah.
Soon doesn't mean a month later I'm going to call you. Soon means I'm going to call you soon, probably within a few days or that day. It depends really on the situation. So there it is. And so if I started late, and I might say something like, Philip, we had an agreement to start at this time. We're started at this time. And the impact is that we get now we have less time together. Now I don't have the full opportunity to seize the opportunity to seize the opportunity of our being together. And there's also an impact on you.
Yeah.
You might feel frustrated. You might feel disrespected. You might feel like I don't honor your time.
Yeah.
And I want you to know from this point forward, I'm committed to operating with impeccable integrity and showing up for our calls on the button. And you could feel it. You could feel the integrity restoration in that.
I can feel that. I also want to share a story that I had with so Rich Habits is someone who I've been in touch with a lot, especially since reading this book. And he's someone who's very, very direct, and he's a dear friend, but sometimes he can really trigger me. And there have been moments in our friendship where I've been wanting to say, go to hell, I never want to speak to you again. Like, that's what I would have wanted to say, right? Like no joke, like that. Like there have been moments where he probably felt the same way about me. So we've been kind of loving each other hardly and challenging each other hardly. And at the same time, we never really created a container for that to be. And as coaches, sometimes it's a little slippery because we can go quickly from being a coach to being a friend, and the lines can be a little blurry. And so we created this container around. So the container is, I have your back no matter what. And what that means is, no matter how upset I may be about something, or no matter how upset he is about something, we are not going to let that get in the way of our friendship and our growth and the opportunity to become powerful creators for each other. And that was really,
wow.
He created that together with me as a possibility, not just a possibility, but as a commitment to our friendship, and as a commitment to how we want to be with each other. So it gave us permission to get upset, to get triggered, but it allowed for recovery. Not just allowed, but through this, we said we're gonna recover no matter what. So it doesn't matter how direct or how upset we are with what someone says. And I think and also what I've noticed is, since we've made that commitment to one another, we've been so much more gentle and loving to one another.
Wow. I love that creation, commitment, and container. You guys have both spoke into being. Yeah. That's so beautiful and so powerful and so loving.
Yeah. And I want to acknowledge Rich for that, because it was something that he brought up in a conversation. And, just as I share that with you, I really feel inspired to create that with other friends, other people that I really value in my life, and for us to, create a container, even friends, just that. It just shows I care, and I care about our friendship, and I want to make sure that our friendship is above and before our differences. And I'm just appreciating the inspiration I'm getting from what I just shared, about where else I can do that, and how I haven't done it. So I just love that.
Yeah, awesome. I love the possibilities being born right now. Let's go.
Yeah. And we do that as coaches. We're masterful at creating containers around conversations, and that's so important. And I think it's that integrity as well. I was actually speaking to a friend just 2 days ago, and again, it was just noticing that I wanted to help him with something, and just slowing down and asking for permission. I said, well, would it be okay if I coached you through this? Yeah. And he said, well, yeah, sure. You don't need to ask. And I said, well, actually, I do need to ask, and I want your permission, because I'm gonna show up for you, and I'm gonna show up fully, and I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna be here as a friend. Like, I'm really gonna step it up. And immediately he started to sit up on his chair immediately.
Yes.
Like there was an excitement that was there, and who he was being completely shifted from the moment he said, yes, I give you permission. And if I hadn't done that and just spoken to him from that from that place of I'm your friend, no way would I have been able to help it. No way. There would have just been so much resistance. And so I had to like create that. And then it's like allowing for that conversation to happen. And so for me, what I'm hearing in this conversation is integrity is how I'm creating myself to be in service to whoever is in front of me.
Yes. Being who you say you are.
Yeah. And how I can be out of integrity by creating myself without creating the person I'm speaking to. They need to create, I need to create myself, but I also need to create myself for the person I'm speaking to.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Speak who you are into their listening.
Right.
Totally.
Right. Because only from there can I show up in integrity.
Yeah, I love that.
I love that. And I love the clarity I'm getting from this. It's something that it's like something that I've been doing, but I feel like now through this conversation, I'm just getting much more clear and I can be way more intentional about that. And I'm just less, now I'm kind of less concerned about powerfully showing up for friends in this way, creating a container and stuff. Because there have been people in my life that I just love so much, and I just felt a little stuck around how can I be in integrity and be with them and not feel like this is draining me. And now that this is how it's through that container.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Breakthrough, baby. Woo! Let's go.
Yeah. And now I'm actually excited to speak to some of these friends that I've kind of like, I guess there's some conversations that I've been procrastinating a little just because I wasn't clear around how to approach it. And now I'm like, oh yeah, this is how I can approach it. And it's just asking for permission, whether they say yes or no, it's totally cool, but it's very empowering for them.
Yeah. It's all in the being.
That's right.
All in the being, baby.
That's right.
It's all in the being. I love who you are being.
Well, that's what a gift. Stephen, thank you so much. I can't believe we're approaching, I think it's already been an hour or so that we are in this beautiful conversation. So we're just going to slowly just bring our time together to a close. And I wanted to ask you, what else would you like to share before we complete our conversation today?
I'm feeling called to share one more thing, a practice that me and one of my clients recently created is bringing an extra awareness to every interaction and recognizing that every single interaction is an opportunity to love and serve. Every single interaction. An example, I got a mass email sent to me by the Pennsylvania's Lawyers Assistance Program. They're putting together certain programs, and I received the email, and with that extra awareness, I can see their commitment to serving in the way that they're serving and all the work they're doing. And I just replied and acknowledged their work and that it's making a meaningful difference. And I just wanted them to feel seen and appreciated. And it's that awareness that helped that creation come into being. So that's what I'm feeling called to share, is that practice of bringing an extra awareness to every interaction and realizing it's an opportunity to love and serve and be who we are. And one more thing's coming through. Anyone who's listening, I love you. I believe in you. And I pray that the God or good of your understanding blesses you abundantly and brings peace into your heart and let you know that you are safe in faith and that you are right where you're supposed to be and you are going exactly where you are supposed to be going. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Stephen, and for that message of hope for everyone. What an inspiration you are. What a beautiful being that you are. And I appreciate everything that you've brought into this conversation and beyond. I love you, and I am beyond grateful for who you are. Thank you.
Received. I love you. Thank you too.
Thank you for listening. If you know someone who would benefit from today's conversation, please share this podcast with them. Also, we invite you to visit theultimatecoachbook.com so you can continue your personal exploration of being. There you will find links to join our wonderful community, get your own copy of the Ultimate Coach book, and more. Simply go now to www.theultimatecoachbook.com. That's www.theultimatecoachbook.com. The link is also available in the show notes. We appreciate your support. Be blessed. Be you.